Heilman. Is everyone present? We need Gloria.
Yes.
All right. I'll reconvene the May 27, 2021 meeting of the City Council successor agency to the Palm Desert Redevelopment Agency and Housing Authority. We have returned from closed session. May we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Harnick.
Here.
Councilman Jonathan.
Present.
Councilmember Nastandi.
Here.
Councilmember Quintanilla.
Present.
Mayor Kelly.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Please stand to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Councilmember Jonathan will grace us with inspiration or invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. We are in a time of so many challenges and on so many different levels. It is important that in our city, in our community, we continue to work together, that we not make judgments about others, that instead we listen to each other, work together constructively and collaboratively, and always with mutual respect. For over a year, our city's motto and guiding principle has been Unite Palm Desert. Let's make sure these are not just words, but rather a principle that guides our everyday actions and that defines who and what we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything to report from closed session?
No, there were no reportable action taken. Thank you.
We have no awards or presentations this evening. Next is the appointed time for public comments on non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for the public to speak on issues that are not on the agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes. And the published agenda defined several opportunities, options, ways to participate. The Brown Act sadly does not allow us to address topics which are not on the agenda, so we cannot engage you in conversation. We may briefly provide information or refer something to staff or follow up, but we are always eager to converse outside these meetings and can be reached through City Hall. Madam Clerk, is there anyone wishing to speak to us this evening? Looks like we have one hand raised.
Yes, Michael Harrington, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, so I believe I'm unmuted, so you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for the chance to speak. I wanted to speak about what I perceive to be a need for a commission to address issues of diversity. It's been referred to as various topics, human rights commission, whatever the title is. I think that it would be beneficial to the city, the residents, the businesses, And also keeping in mind that so many people come to Palm Desert to visit, shop. We have the new shopping district. I have a business there. I don't live there. But there's a lot of people who visit for many reasons. So I think it's in the best interest to consider how important it is to encourage openness and welcomeness. And you want people to come and feel safe and secure in your city. Specifically, I did have a personal incident where at my age and all I've lived through, I was really shocked that on El Paseo, on the sidewalk, I was talking to a lady. Doesn't mean I agree or don't agree with her views. She was handing out some Black Lives Matter material. She wasn't protesting, she was by herself. And some of it was also anti-Donald Trump material. Seems perfectly protected by free speech. Someone from a business ran out and down the sidewalk to accost us. And I left not feeling safe. This shouldn't happen. This seems like an issue of diversity. On the other hand, we see pro-Donald Trump protesters and White Lives Matter taking over caravans, taking over the street, literally taking it over. I was there once and you really couldn't be on the street. However, I welcome everyone's right, and I'm not disclosing what side I'm on the issue. It's not relevant. But I think there's a lack of inclusiveness. I don't know how much time I have left, but the bigger topic is we've been through this all of our lives. The issue of discrimination, exclusion. We've used many names in terms. One that I saw, frankly, that was just so blatant is that one of the councilwomen here had trouble. I'm not going to get into names, but all of a sudden we have a bunch of rules now that she can't speak. We know what this is. Well, what I mean is there seem to be obstructionists by a white man towards a Hispanic woman, and under the guise of rules, civility, whatever you want to call it. We've seen this all of our lives. I grew up in a diverse community in San Fernando, a third Black, third white, third Hispanic. My cousins are Hispanic. We know what this is.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak.
I do see a second hand raised now. Could you call upon that person?
Paulina Angel, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, good evening, Mayor Kelly and Council. My name is Paulina Angel, and I speak to you this evening as the Coachella Valley representative of Unity Hope. As California is starting to recover from COVID, Unity Hope delivers free crisis support for Southern California communities that have been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. This is a crisis counseling assistance and training program funded by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and administered by the California Department of Healthcare Services through the project known as California Hope. We provide 2 options that our services can be utilized: through our warm line that people can call to speak to one of our amazing counselors, or through our online chat option that could be used by your computer or your cell phone. We have a well-diverse group of counselors choice of speaking to someone that specializes in different communities such as veterans, Black African Americans, Asian and Pacific Islanders, Latinx, parents or caregivers, youth or young adults, and the LGBTQ community. I have sent your city clerk our flyer in the hopes that you all could share it with your constituents so that a lot of people can know about our services. And if you have any questions, you could always reach me at paulina@unityhope.org. As I said, I'm the Coachella Valley representative, and I'm based out here in the city of Indio. So I'm always happy to help everybody out. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you all this evening, and I wish you all happy mental health.
Thank you so much for that information. Does that conclude public comment?
Yes, it does.
Which brings us to the consent calendar. Does anyone wish to remove something from consent? Councilmember Quintanilla?
I would like to pull number 9, number 12, and register a no for number 11.
Okay, 9 and 12. Any others?
You
Right.
did say no for 11, correct?
That is correct. No for number 11.
Thank you.
And are there others? Would someone like to move the remainder?
I move the balance.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
and Mayor Kelly.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 on all of them with the exception of 9 and 12 and 4-1 on 11.
It was 9 and 12, right?
Yes, 9 and 12.
Right, let's take up item 9. May we have a brief staff report from Mr. Gary?
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council members, Chris Gary with the City Manager's Office. And the item before you is a proposed letter of opposition for Senate Bill 9. And this bill continues down the state legislature's path over the last few years that looks at the housing crisis as really a partial issue related to local land use decisions. And if adopted, cities and counties would be required to permit ministerially the division of single family homes into duplexes, as well as subdivide a parcel zone for residential use into approximately 2 equal parcels. And the bill has passed the Senate floor this week and will be ordered for the first reading in the Assembly in the future. And that date has not been decided. There's various opposition at the local level across the state as well. I think I counted fairly close to, if not over 100 cities that have opposed this bill. And I'd be happy to answer any questions as well. Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Quintanilla.
My apologies for not having sent my question sooner. My only point for pulling it was just to ask, what is the contingency plan should this pass? Just trying to get the understanding of why the city is opposed, but should this be out of our hands and it does pass, what does the contingency plan for the city look like? Especially since we know that we have to mitigate the expanding costs and our future needs, just again, trying to find balance.
We would need to work that through with our legal counsel in terms of what, if any, conflicts exist with the city code and bring those changes to you accordingly.
And if I could volunteer as a member of the Legislative Affairs Committee, part of my motivation for bringing this forward is that Palm Desert is really ahead of many other cities in having provided within our general plan for a host of housing models, including those with greater density, smaller lot size, smaller homes, to try to encourage the development community to give us housing that is more affordable. So my own perception is that we've demonstrated that correct balance without someone giving us direction from Sacramento. Any other comments or questions before we vote on this item?
One last comment, Mayor. I just need to register the future concern for as we look into, again, that non-existent crystal ball of what the future housing needs will be for students, and also looking at the trends for more and more older Americans that are having increased lifespan. Obviously, that's a wonderful thing, but what will that housing look like, and looking at how we can quickly address these needs. If we're looking at developers and hoping that we can attract a lot of different apartments, for example, I don't see that that's necessarily in the master plan to include those to come up in greater quantity. So I think that this may actually be a way to help us address how to house a lot of students that we will be asking to come and out of good faith to help us build the future Palm Desert.
Great thoughts and great questions. I can share that the University Park development, which is moving forward, does include some apartments in addition to single family homes. And thankfully, the master plan for CSU SB Palm Desert campus includes student housing on campus as well. But that doesn't mean we should stop there. Mayor Pro Tem Harnick, you had your hand up.
You said basically what I was going to say. We have worked hard on our general plan update to make sure there is housing for everybody, and not just affordable housing, but affordable living to accommodate every facet of our community, and have provided some very high density areas and some places with lower densities so to make sure that we do provide for all needs and wants. And if there's no further discussion, I would move approval.
Is there a second? And then we'll take your comment.
I'll second the motion.
Councilmember Quintanilla. Oops, you're still muted.
Sorry about that. You'd think we'd get used to it. Just again, looking at the fact that we have more families that are looking for their own places to go. So we know that we have not seen the rising wages to allow a lot of new families to start. And the idea of a starter home may be less feasible unless there are options like duplexes to allow them to benefit from those. So I think that we also, if we are not going to take guideline from the state in order to increase the amount of housing units that we have, perhaps we need to do a little bit more in order to freeze the rents in Palm Desert to prevent, for example, the new apartments that we are considering. That will raise the rent all across District 1 and across the city of Palm Desert. And I'm hearing from a lot of families that are saying that during the pandemic, their rents increased and they can no longer afford Palm Desert. And that will mean leaving the schools where their children have been attending and changing up and disrupting their life. So just trying to find future balance, not just with who Palm Desert is now, but looking 20, 30 years ahead into perhaps our new strategic plan that we will be redeveloping.
Thank you. Are we ready to vote?
Mayor, I have my hand up.
Please.
I apologize. I know it's hard to see back there. I need to change the color of the hand, I think. Yeah, listen, I mean, getting back to SB 9, which is what's on the agenda, I think this discussion highlights why it's so important to oppose it. Obviously, our intimate understanding of our community indicates that we should be the ones making those types of decisions. At the end of the day, local land use should be under local control. And for that reason, because SB 9 imposes a directive from Sacramento that knows nothing about the intricacies of our community, we should oppose it. I support the motion.
All right, may we have the vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan.
Aye.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Nay.
Mayor Kelly,
Yes.
motion carries 4-1.
And then item 12 is to authorize the mayor to appoint 2 council members, excuse me, to work with the public information officer and the city attorney to review current practices of issuance of city proclamations. Let me just take the lead in explaining this one. The mayor pro tem, the city attorney, and I for some time have been compiling a list of procedures within our council that we need to visit and clarify. And quite early on, I asked for proclamations to be on that list because I truly felt I could use better guidance as mayor in responding to the plethora of requests that sometimes come to the office. It's hard to turn anybody down. And so for myself and future mayors, I thought that some standards established by the full council would best guide us. So Councilmember Quintanilla.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have questions as has been presented by the public in terms of, it seems kind of interesting that after things became a little bit contentious, that now suddenly it seems that this has taken a forefront and become a major concern. And in looking at, staff was so kind to provide proclamations, the historic through date of today of 2021, proclamations for 2020, 2019, and I had requested it to go a little further back, but ran out of time. And looking at the breakdown of what they are done. So few proclamations, for example, in support of youth, only 1 in 2019 and 2 in 2020. Few for marginalized groups, 4 in 2021. Thankfully, Mayor has been very progressive and inclusive. Only 2 in 2020 and 2 in 2019, which automatically includes Martin Luther King Day. And there is a Trans Remembrance Day in 2019. If we include health, medical, and disabilities, 2 in 2021, 1 in 2020, 1 in 2019. And if we're looking at recognizing individuals, that was 4 in 2019, 4 in 2020, and in 0 so far in 2021. And with regards to national issues, which I believe was possibly one of the discussions that was provided, 4 national proclamations are related to national weeks were in 2019, 2 in 2020, and thus far 2 in 2021. So I just find it very interesting that after so many years of the city having a history where this was entirely the purview of the mayor, that now it seems that as we have a mayor who's trying to be more inclusive, the comments from the city and the public, actually not the city, the comments from the public are requesting more visibility, requesting inclusivity. And it just does not seem to strike the chord, as the invocation said, that we should work together without judgments and work constructively, collaboratively with mutual respect. And I think that we need to respect Mayor Kelly and her right to have these proclamations as mayor, which I believe were respected when Councilmember Jonathan was mayor, when Councilmember Nastandi was mayor, as it will be done when Mayor or Pro Tem Harnick continues. So I just don't see that this needs to be made into a bigger issue to allow the mayor to continue to have the ability to decide what she wants during her tenure as mayor. So I just find it kind of strange, irksome, perhaps would be an easier way of putting it, that this is becoming such a contentious issue under the guise of national guidelines or national issues, when Councilmember Jonathan requested 5 years of IRS records for Desert X when they were just trying to have business in Palm Desert. And his point of asking was things that happened on another continent. So just trying to find whether we're trying to take stands on things that are national or only in the city. But ultimately, I think if it comes from the community, we are beholden to the community to listen to their needs and respond to them, and not elected officials such as the PIO, who is a lovely individual, as is our risk management and city attorney. I just think that this needs to continue under the mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick.
Thank you, Mayor. This was something that the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem had been discussing. The mayor and I have discussed. This was not prompted by any recent meeting. This was thought of when we put a proclamation forward. It's consensus of opinion. It would have to be at least a majority of the council because it represents the city. So this was not something, there is not any nefarious kind of deed going on here. This was something that the mayor and I have discussed, that we wanted to put policies and procedures in place and to look at them. And there's a number of items on that list that we are looking at. This is just one of a few to make sure that we are doing things appropriately as we go forward and in the best fashion that Palm Desert can. So this is just something we wanted to discuss. It's been on our list for a while, and it was something that we discussed with the city manager. So this is not something that just happened. It really is something we feel we want to make sure we're doing the best job for Palm Desert in making these decisions.
Councilmember Jonathan.
And thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first, I have to say I'm truly challenged to understand what Desert X has to do with proclamation procedures, but I did listen and embrace the comments made by my colleague, and I think they make the point as to why clarification is needed in our procedures. Obviously, it's not defined, and whether our guidelines will be for more national proclamations, less, the same, whatever, it's always helpful to the mayor herself or himself to have some guidelines. So whatever those might be, and I'm not going to prejudge that outcome. So with that, I would move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comments before we vote? Yes, Councilmember Quintanilla.
I would just like to add that as this policy is being crafted, that perhaps if this is going to a subdivision, that we have members of the community be involved, including members of the AAPI community that requested a proclamation twice, so that we can have community informed on what the requests are, what the procedures are, and how to properly request inclusivity and visibility within the city.
Thank you. If this passes, the subcommittee can certainly adopt such procedures as it considers appropriate. Did you have another remark, Mayor Pro Tem?
I did, thank you. And Councilmember Quintanilla, and I appreciate your comments, and I want to assure you that, as usual, when a subcommittee comes up with ideas, policies, procedures, and those sorts of things, it would always come in front of the complete and full city council for discussion and to always ensure transparency. So it is something that would come before the public and to the council for a complete discussion.
Please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Hornick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nestandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Nay.
Mayor Kelly.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1 with Councilmember Quintanilla voting no.
Which brings us to item 13, resolution number 2021-26, a resolution approving a joint community facilities agreement with Coachella Valley Water District and University Park Investor LLC pertaining to CFD number 2021-1 University Park, and conduct the second reading of and adopt ordinance number 1365 related to Community Facilities District number 2021-1 University Park, authorizing the levy of a special tax within that district. Ms. Tapia.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Veronica Tapia, Senior Management Analyst for the Finance Department. We're almost there. The item before you tonight is the next step in the UPI refunding. The developer has asked that certain water and sewer facilities be included as eligible for reimbursement from the refunding bonds, the new money portion of the bonds. And so in order to include those improvements, we have to do a JCFA that includes approval by the City Council and CVWD. This item will go before CBWD at their June 8th meeting for their approval. And the second part of the report actually requests the second reading and adoption of Ordinance 1365. The next time I will see you on this is June 24th, where it is our final request for approval of the financing documents. If you have any questions specific to these items, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Item 14 is request for approval of actions in connection with the parcel identified as ABN 694-120-028 related to compliance with the Surplus Land Act and an exclusive negotiating agreement with Palm Communities, contract number C41550. And Ms. Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Jessica Gonzalez, Senior Management Analyst with the Development Services Department. Approval of staff's recommendation will comply with the California Surplus Land Act and authorize entering into an exclusive negotiation agreement for the purposes of negotiating the terms and conditions of the sale of the city-owned property to Palm Communities to construct a housing development on the property that complies with Government Code Section 37364. The California Surplus Land Act became effective in January 2020, and it governs the sale of publicly owned property with oversight from the California Department of Housing and Community Development. What it allows is for land to be declared either surplus or exempt surplus land by local agencies. The city owns approximately 10 acres located on the north side of Gerald Ford Drive and Cook Street, between Cook Street and Portola Avenue. By declaring this property exempt surplus land under Government Code Section, sorry for the acronyms and the numbers, 54221F1A, it authorizes the city to sell the land and provide housing affordable to persons and families of low or moderate income if certain conditions are met, in accordance with Government Code Section 37364. Palm Communities has proposed a project that complies with this section because of they're proposing 100% of the 242 units proposed to be developed will be restricted to very low and low income households. Staff is also asking authorization for city manager to enter into a new ENA with Palm Communities. The ENA consists of the same business terms as the ENA that Council authorized on October 29, 2020. This action has been conferred with HCD, which is the oversight that has oversight over the Surplus Land Act, and has recommended that this declaration to be done in order to comply with the Surplus Land Act. Mr. Dan Horn with Palm Communities is a participant and is available for questions. Staff recommends that City Council approve and recommend the related actions.
Any questions of staff? Yes, Councilmember Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Gonzalez, thank you for that excellent report and the staff report. So the ENA will expire on December 31, 2021. I want to understand, is it necessary for the developer to have secured his credits by that time? And does that give him enough time to do so?
No, by that time, what the ENA is allowing us is to continue to negotiate and actually enter into a development disposition agreement. So that will have to have completed by December 31, 2021.
Okay, and hopefully as we enter into that agreement, we have time markers so that we don't face another project that comes back to us time and time again without any progress.
That is correct. That is what the ENA will allow us, is to produce a timeline that will fit into a timeline correctly for the funding and the project to be developed timely.
All right, because of course, we all want to see this go up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nastande.
So it is a question for Mr. Dan Horn. Is this the appropriate time?
Sure.
Yes, well, I know that Mr. Horn has done affordable housing projects in the past and looking forward to this next one, and just wanted to hear from him where he is and if there's anything the city could be doing more to help him.
Thank you, Councilman Nastande. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is, extending the ENA is the first step in being able to get a disposition agreement signed up with a schedule. I think that right now we're moving forward in an appropriate manner. We have come up with a kind of a general site plan that integrates with the park, and staff is comfortable with what we presented. And so that allows us to move forward per our original ENA to start actually negotiating the development agreement. There's a number of state laws that have been passed since we originally started this work with the city, and there's also a tremendous amount of money from the federal government as well as the state that's going to be available for us to source, hopefully, for this project. Unfortunately, most of the funding sources are really kind of dialed in for the coastal areas, but we've had great success in the Inland Empire in getting projects funded, and I look forward to working with the city to get this project moving forward and hopefully under construction sometime next year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horn.
Thank you for the opportunity and your faith and trust in me and my firm.
Is there a motion?
So moved. We can't get this bill quick enough as far as I'm concerned.
Councilmember Nastante. Oh, excuse me, Councilmember Quintanilla. We have 2 seconds. We have dueling.
I'll defer to Councilmember Quintanilla.
Dueling seconds. Thank you. Please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nastande,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item 15 is request for direction regarding the reopening of city facilities to in-person services and meetings, including the resumption of in-person committee, commission, and council meetings. Ms. Carney.
Hello, good afternoon. So tonight we're going to consider what our plans are for reopening. I have a brief PowerPoint that I'd like to share with you just to guide our conversation. So if you will bear with me just one moment, I will start that. So thank you very much. As you know, City Hall was closed to the public on March 17th as a result of the governor's safer at home orders and then his subsequent blueprint for a safer economy and the related guidelines and orders for office work and public places. So we have long planned a 3-phased reopening strategy, and currently we are in phase 1 of that strategy. City Hall is open by appointment. In-person services are available by appointment from our development services folks and other departments such as the city clerks, finance, public works that may need in-person services. To receive those services, customers check in at the development services lobby. There is a temperature screening. They're required to wear masks, take stock of social distancing requirements. And we have, if you've been in City Hall, you will notice that we have placed extensive plexiglass barriers between counters and the public throughout City Hall. As well, permitting, plan check, payments, and other such services are available virtually through our website, email, telephone, and drop boxes. As additional information for you, as we're talking about city-related facilities, the Aquatic Center is open with limited capacity. They are open Monday through Saturday. However, the hours vary by day, and members of the community are encouraged to check their website, which is pdpool.com, for the most current information. But swim lanes and classes are available, reservations are required, and again, masks and social distancing are required. Our community center here in the Civic Center Park is also open with limited capacity. The weight room and programs are open at 25% capacity, but they are hosting classes, dancing, basketball. I spoke with Brenda Nutcher today, and they are starting a singles pickleball program. I'm not sure how that works with singles. They are also doing some classes in the park and continuing to increase the programs that are available. Their summer camps are open. They're limited to 14 participants per camp, so they're already full. If they receive authorization to expand that number, they will do so and then reach out to people at that time. The community center itself is open 6 to 9, Monday through Friday. It's closed on weekends. Again, masks and social distance are required. And the community is encouraged to visit their website, myrecreationdistrict.com, for the most current information there. From this point, I'm going to focus primarily on City Hall. So
Lori, I think single pickleball means one person on each side of the net, as opposed to one person on the court running back and forth.
I was somewhat confused by single pickleball. So, as we contemplated a phased approach to reopening, we contemplated a phase 2, which would be when Riverside County entered the yellow tier. As you may be following in the local news, it now seems unlikely that Riverside County will enter the yellow tier prior to the June 15th removal of the tier system. In any event, if we are able to enter the yellow tier, our plan is to open the development services lobby and counters to walk-in services for the public. And of course, all departments would still be open for services by appointment, and the public would still be screened and checked in at the development services entrance. Council and commission meetings would remain virtual, but employees would return to a majority of on-site work with social distance, A&D teams, and other appropriate measures. But as I said, it doesn't seem that we will take this intermediate measure. So what we'll move into now is, what do we think things are going to look like after June 15th, which is when the governor has stated that he will be removing the blueprint for a safer economy and the tiered system of restrictions. So for Palm Desert City Hall, we would open the development services and administration, which is our lobby here closest to the council and city manager, to walk-ins, and pretty much business as usual there. We would, of course, still take appointments if people wanted to make them, but people could just walk in. Employees would return to work primarily on site. Committee meetings may be held in person. Council and planning commissions may resume in person. We are, however, asking that the North Wing lobby remain closed to the public pending direction on how we're going to provide visitor services going forward. And that is primarily because our current staffing model doesn't anticipate that lobby being open. And so we're just wanting to hold that and just open the other 2 lobbies. Considerations for our reopening, there's actually 2 separate tracks. So there's public access to city facilities and services as a public agency, and then there's Palm Desert as an employer. So I'll start first with public access. as I just went over, we anticipate walk-in access to our two main lobbies, the lobbies that get the most traffic, and in-person meetings and conference rooms and offices, so that if, for example, the city manager or the city council member wanted to meet with someone, they could do so in their offices or in one of our conference rooms, as we would have done in the past. In-person council and commission meetings can resume. However, staff recommends returning to the council chambers after the summer hiatus. As stated in the staff report, staff is still evaluating improvements to the council chambers themselves, and we will be returning to you at a later meeting with more information on that. So we are asking that we return to those chambers after the summer hiatus at the earliest. Mask wearing would be dependent on the California Department of Public Health. So in the governor's announcement that he would be removing restrictions after June 15th, there's a caveat there that masks will be, whether or not people will wear masks will be dependent on the California Department of Public Health current guidelines. So they haven't changed their guidance, and we are still operating under this guidance that they released early in May. If they change this, this is what will take precedence. But right now, this guidance states that everyone, vaccinated or not, should wear a mask indoors in public places. The city facilities, such as our lobbies, meeting rooms, and council chambers, are indoor public spaces. So if this guidance does not change, we would still require members of the public and staff to wear masks in those places. But we are all waiting and monitoring to see whether or not the state changes that guideline, that guidance. The next consideration for us is for the city of Palm Desert as an employer. So in terms of masks, social distancing, and PPE, we are bound by regulations set by Cal OSHA. Now, Cal OSHA is considering, let me step back one second. Cal OSHA staff are drafting revised regulations. Those draft regulations will be released tomorrow as part of the Cal OSHA board agenda for consideration by that board on June 3rd. We'll know more tomorrow what those regulations state. I can tell you that at the last Cal OSHA board meeting, they received testimony from employers in many different industries, everything from office professional to retail workers to restaurateurs, etc. What the vast majority of industry representatives asked for was clarity. They asked the board to provide clarity in this area, and they asked the board to have their regulations match the governor's other orders, CDC guidance, and the California Department of Public Health guidance. I can tell you that based upon the discussion of the board, their discussion was such that they saw a difference between the voluntary attendance into a public place and a workplace. So they saw it as you as an individual choose to go to a restaurant, you choose to go to a retail environment, you choose to go to a theater, but you may not choose whether or not you have to be on site in a workplace. And so they seemed to be taking the position that they may consider different regulations for employers. They may require masks, social distance, et cetera, for our employees in the workplace. This could lead to a less than clear and messy situation for us and all employers in the state. As we get more information, we'll keep you informed. As we see the draft regulations tomorrow, we'll evaluate them. And when they're considered by the board on June 3rd, we'll all know more about what that will look like for us and other California employers. The next consideration for us as an employer is vaccines and vaccination. Palm Desert does not plan to mandate vaccines for employees. There are several reasons for that. I can go into them if you'd like to discuss them in detail, but right now our recommendation is not to mandate vaccines. And that is the recommendation that most employers are making. Some school districts are choosing differently, but most employers are choosing not to mandate vaccines. However, we do encourage vaccination, and we have been providing paid time to employees to obtain vaccination. At this point, approximately 30% of our staff have reported that they are currently vaccinated. The last consideration for us as an employer is remote work. As with agencies throughout the state and the country, private and public employers, employees have expressed a desire for flexibility and consideration of some continued remote work. This is currently being studied, and no decisions have been made as this time as to what our policy will be going forward after June 15th. That's the only points that I had for the discussion. We're happy to answer any questions you might have or discuss further.
Great. Could you please stop share so I can see everybody clearly? I seek, and first of all, thank you to you and the rest of the staff who obviously have labored quite hard in putting this together. Councilmember Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question for you, and I echo the mayor's comments. Great job, Ms. Carney. Appreciate it. So do you envision a hybrid meeting model for our committees, commissions, and the council where members have the option of attending in person or virtually?
That will depend again on the governor. So currently there is an order that allows a suspension of some requirements of the Brown Act that allows us to meet virtually. If that doesn't change, then staff is preparing for the technological capability of that. As you might remember, prior to closure, we had some hybrid meetings and they were clunky at best, but we hope to be able to do that more seamlessly and better if it's allowed under the Brown Act, if we are allowed to continue that. I know there is some legislation that's being proposed to allow members of the public to continue to provide public testimony virtually. And so that is another thing that we'll have to keep in mind and follow along as we are required by the law.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, I hate to be simplistic, but in one sense, all of these complications boil down to we intend to comply with the law as soon as somebody tells us what it is.
Right.
With the exception that because of the desire to modify our council chambers, staff is asking us to postpone any thoughts about re-entering them until at least after the summer hiatus. Councilmember Nestande.
Yeah, so leapfrogging on what you just said, in terms of jurisdiction over these rules, I know we've got the governor at the top, but then we've got the county of Riverside and the public health department. And I actually did sit in on our Zoom on one of the meetings this last week, and some county supervisors had on masks and some didn't, and open to the public. So I'm not sure which jurisdiction they're under. Are they under Cal OSHA, or it is a little confusing of what's allowed and what's not.
Well, and if I may volunteer, we'll be doing well to be in charge of ourselves, as opposed to trying to figure out what the supervisors are doing.
Yeah.
But Lori, you had a thought?
I don't know who our jurisdiction is actually.
Right.
We were on the governor, then we had the county.
Right.
And then we throw Cal OSHA into the mix. We got 3 different entities.
That is true. Gina, that is true. We do have 3 different entities. It's my understanding that in terms of the Riverside County Public Health Officer, who is the person that has jurisdiction over us as a county health officer, that they intend to follow the state's guidance past June 15th. So they intend to align their orders and guidance with the states. So that is great. At how other agencies react to that, I can't speak to. I can't speak to how other agencies are complying. Where Cal OSHA comes into play is as an employer and in how we deal with our employees and how we provide a safe workplace and how that mixes with some COVID regulations and regulations that Cal OSHA adopted in November. So that's where there's a little bit of a difference between how you interact with the public and how you kind of interact behind the scenes with your employees. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying, Lori. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't see other hands, so I would take that to mean that the council encourages staff to continue refining the plan as more information becomes available. I particularly appreciate, and I think my colleagues probably particularly appreciate, that we're both thinking about the interests of employees and being consultative, and we're thinking about how to best serve the public. So I see equal attention to those 2 fronts, and so again, your work is deeply appreciated.
Thank you.
Are we ready for the next item? Which is item 16, request for direction on El Paseo related to dining decks, raised mid-block crosswalks, and the existing painted crosswalks. There may be some change from staff in what we will take up tonight in light of our study session.
Mayor, in light of the direction that we received at the study session, we would recommend that we'll put a process together to bring back the dining deck regulations after we've had an opportunity to craft those design requirements, run them by the ARC, the Restaurant Association. And so I think we probably need a month to do that, be back on June 24th. And in terms of the other items with the raised mid-block crosswalks and the painting, I think we've got direction on the painting. On the other improvements to the street, we really probably would request that we continue this until we can get some more clarification from council on how you would like us to approach that street holistically, if that makes sense. And so the one definitive issue here, the one definitive item will be back on June 24th with the dining decks. But we really, based on the feedback as I heard it, we probably need to wait until we have some more clarification on El Paseo itself before we continue the discussion. And please let me know if anyone disagrees with that.
If I may, I do want to make the comment that we had I thought a very good study session. And I know that the raised crosswalks were somewhat of an issue. I think we've seen such a positive reaction as far as slowing cars down, and the reaction of the merchants on El Paseo have so appreciated that I do want to, as soon as possible, get back to look at that, because if we can be doing that work during the summer, it certainly would be in the best interest of El Paseo and all those hardworking merchants and employees on that street.
So that is, yes, Councilmember Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question. So, Mr. Heilman, are you looking for a continuance to a date certain? Did I hear June 24th?
Or the dining deck specifically, we got very clear direction there from the council. On the other items, I think they need to be continued until we are prepared to have a discussion on the broader vision for that street based on what I heard at the study session.
All right, so just for purposes of discussion, Mayor, I would move that the dining deck portion of this item be continued to June 24th, and that the remainder of the issues addressed in the staff report be continued to a date uncertain.
Is there a second?
I would second that motion.
And
May I offer a friendly amendment to that?
well, sure.
I thought so.
I was going to clarify the intention, but give it a try.
Well, I would support what Councilmember Jonathan put forth, and I would also add to that we schedule a study session or of some sort as soon as possible so that we can have the discussion regarding the raised crosswalks and we can move forward with that however we choose to move forward with it.
Yeah, what I was going to suggest by way of clarification is just express the understanding from our study session that we all do want to move this topic along as quickly as possible, so that perhaps Mayor Pro Tem, you and I could collaborate with the city manager at our next session to stage our attention to this topic, to sequence our attention to this topic. It does seem universally agreed that we don't want to put it on the shelf. We want to push it along. I see not. Let the minutes reflect everyone is nodding affirmatively. Other comments at this time? Yes.
Mayor Kelly, could we just confirm that there aren't any public comments on this item?
I don't see anyone's hand raised, but let me explicitly ask whether any of our attendees are here to comment on this item.
Yes, I don't see any raised hands, and there was an individual, but I don't see them present. Oh.
We have a panelist hand. Ooped it down.
I believe it was Sally Hill.
I don't see a hand at the moment. Up, here it goes, Sally. Yes, please elevate Sally. We will have 3 minutes. Sally, you are muted. Can you unmute?
Hello, my name is Sally Hill. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I am the owner of Sweet Basil California Eatery. And I just, first of all, I'd like to thank the city council and the city of Palm Desert for their, generosity and their quick response to helping the restaurants and, letting us build these dining decks and being so quick with permits and, helping us through the restrictions that the restaurants have had to go through COVID. I am super grateful. Also, I'd like to add some comments that I've heard from my customers. As far as my dining deck goes, I have had not one complaint, not one negative comment. All of my guests seem perfectly happy that the decks are there, and they feel like it's really added a certain ambiance to El Paseo and a different quality to El Paseo. And I think it is enhancing the experience of El Paseo, not only for the locals, but for our guests. And I just wanted to reiterate those comments from all of my guests and make you aware of them. And last of all, for me personally, I probably wouldn't have made it through the last year with this restaurant being brand new. if it hadn't been for the dining deck. And I greatly appreciate it. And I also realize that there are safety issues at hand that need to be addressed. And I'm perfectly willing to adhere to anything the city comes up with that we need to do as far as compliance. And thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
And Ms. Hill, thank you so much for taking time to share with us. Thank you for citing your restaurant in Palm Desert. I want to assure you that the conversation at our study session was all directed toward how to move forward with approvals that will allow for continuation of outdoor dining. So thank you for taking time to be with us.
Thank you.
Please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with the dining deck continued to June 24th and approving the remainder and scheduling a study session for a future date. And since we took a motion for this item requesting direction, could we take a motion on the last one, item 15?
Can I just ask for clarification? I thought I heard you say approving the remainder.
No, I apologize. Yes, I apologize. Continuing the dining deck.
Sure. I didn't understand that motion was sought, but going back, so thank you for that help, Gloria. Going back to 15, may we have a motion approving staff's proposed reopening plan with the understanding that it will continue to be updated in light of late breaking legal developments.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. And I apologize, did I misquote the item number 16?
The only thing Councilmember Jonathan was seeking to clarify is that the second two topics have not been approved. They've been postponed until further study occurs.
Thank you.
We have no information items as defined. So we move to public hearings. Item 17, consideration to approve a precise plan, conditional use permit, tentative parcel map 38023 and disposition and development agreement with the Chandi Group USA to develop a 3-story mixed-use building on the city-owned property located at the southeast corner of San Pablo Avenue and Fred Waring Drive, and adoption of a notice of exemption in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, case numbers PPCUP 20-0003 and TPM 38023. Chandi Enterprises LLC applicant. Mr. Schwartz gets to bring us the fruits of much effort.
Well, it was a team effort. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. This is going to be a team presentation by Development Services and Economic Development, but I'll start. So the vacant parcel is directly across the street from City Hall, directly right here. Just around this area, you have some multifamily and some duplexes. And then in this area, you have single family homes. Obviously across, you have the driving range and COD, and then beautiful City Hall. Background, on November 17th, the City Council adopted a new general plan, which created the downtown area and rezoned this parcel along with various others in the area to downtown edge. 2018, the council authorized staff to negotiate with the Shawnee Group for a mixed-use development for this site. Then on February 28th, 2019, the council authorized staff to enter into a E&A with the developer. So again, over here on the right, this is 5 parcels here, just kind of showing you the site. The project consists of 1.5 acres. The zone is downtown edge, which allows for 40 units per acre, which is also consistent with the general plan. There is a DDA for disposition of the land. There's a tentative parcel map, which so it'd be 1 parcel, so the applicant can lease the apartments and the retail and office. And then there's a precise plan and a conditional use permit for the project, the mixed use development, and the restaurant uses. There's a total of 60 apartments. They're located 30 on the 2nd floor, 30 on the 3rd floor. And then there's ground floor retail, restaurant, and office, which is about 16,000 and change. So this is an aerial of what you're seeing here: San Pablo, Santa Rosa, Fred Waring. This is looking out the rooftop. This area is on the 2nd floor, which is an amenity area, which would be open. There's 2 points of access. The main one is off of Santa Rosa, which is full ride in, ride out. This actually takes you into the surface parking as well as a ramp to kind of the mezzanine parking area. And the second access is off of Fred Waring, which is only a right in and a right out. The trash enclosure would be located here, so that's where BirdTech would access that. There is no access on San Pablo. This is meant to be a pedestrian-oriented area, so that will stay clear. So this is kind of the 1st floor. The ground floor is designed with 2 commercial buildings. You see in kind of this pinkish color here, there's 1 and 2. And then directly between the buildings on the ground floor is an open plaza area, which has a grand staircase that leads to the 2nd mezzanine with an art piece. You do see some surface parking. There's 78 parking stalls directly in this area, 10 of which are compact and for golf cart parking as well as motorcycles. And again, this is the access off of Santa Rosa here to the surface parking. This is kind of what they're calling level 2, but it's kind of the mezzanine area. This is only for the above parking area, which is about 65 parking spaces, 9 of which will be for electric charging stations. And then there are the mezzanine area here, which you'll see on the elevations. So this is the 2nd level here. It comprises of 60 units. There's 17 1-bedroom units. Those 1 bedrooms range from 711 square feet to 742 square feet. There's 12 2-bedroom units. They range from 959 to about 1,100 square feet. Then there's 1 3-bedroom, which is right here, kind of on the corner, which is about a little over 1,300 square feet. There is that amenity area. You can see some landscaping, some pavers. There's a small pool here. There's 2 fire pits in the back here, and then some cabana areas. And then there's a fitness area here, number 18 in the pink. So the 3rd floor is directly is the same thing, 30 units, same 17 1-bedroom units, 12 2-bedroom, and then the 1 3-bedroom, which is located here. Then they do have this club area here. So this is this cross section to kind of show you what I was talking about. You have the surface parking, and then this is kind of that mezzanine parking here, or parking garage. The bottom one kind of shows you that ramp, surface parking below, and how you get up to that area. And then you have the 2nd and the 3rd floor. This is the elevation. So the first one is facing Fred Waring, facing City Hall. You can see that grand staircase here with kind of an art sculpture here, and then hopefully this is a restaurant, and then retail or office down here, and then you have the residential units above. Down here on the east, this is what you would see from Santa Rosa. There are no residential units or retail on the bottom floor, so this is basically a decorative screen wall to screen the parking. There will be some landscaping that I'll show you later. And then up top here, this is also the South Santa Rosa Way. And then on the left here, this is kind of a typical detail on the balconies. And then on the bottom west, this is a view from San Pablo. Obviously, there'll be some shade trees here, but you can see the bottom is a storefront, and then above would be residential. This is an elevation basically from the corner. Again, just kind of talking about that staircase. This is kind of that mezzanine area. The parking above would be on this floor. And then you can see the retail. This is another elevation. Kind of an aerial of the shot. And then this is looking at the corner of San Pablo and Santa Rosa Way here. This is what you would see. This is the landscape plan. So you can see that there's going to be some low trees and some shrubs along Fred Waring. The applicant and the planning commission worked with this property owner here to install large ficus along here to help screen the view, which this property owner and his tenants were happy about. And then you can see some shade trees on Santa Rosa, and then San Pablo. These two right here are the existing trees that are out there today, and then they'll fill them in with some palms and some shrubbery. This is kind of a color landscaping of that amenity area, just to show you. And then here I'll turn it over to Mr. Wayne Olson, who will talk about the DDA.
Hey, Kevin, do you mind advancing the slides for me?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Over the past 12 months or so, we have negotiated with the developer the terms of the Disposition and Development Agreement, or the DDA, which I'll briefly summarize for you tonight. The DDA governs the sale of the land for a fair market value of $940,000 and provides a term through the issuance of certificate of occupancy. If you accept staff's recommendation tonight, the DDA is executed, the developer has 8 months in which to close, or they may request an extension of 6 months beyond that. That extension would require a non-refundable payment of $100,000 and approval by the council at the time of the extension request. Among the attachments to the DDA before you include a cost reimbursement agreement and a right of entry. And in addition, there's an option agreement, which may be exercised by the city following closing, but prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy. And I'll explain that on the next slide, Kevin. The option agreement functions effectively as a right of first refusal by the city if the developer doesn't perform according to certain conditions. You see those conditions before you. I'll outline them quickly. If they do not pull permits or start construction within 4 months, or if the development is constructed in such a way that is not in conformance with the submitted plans. And as I mentioned, the option agreement expires upon issuance of certificate of occupancy. Additional items are included in the DDA. Staff is recommending the council authorize the city manager to execute the DDA and to authorize the city manager and city attorney to make conforming and clarifying changes required to implement the DDA. That's the total of my summary. I'll hand it back to Kevin. Myself and Martin Alvarez, Director of Economic Development, are available to answer any council questions following the presentation.
Okay, just one more slide. In closing, staff recommends the project as designed complies with all development standards, including setbacks, density, parking, lot coverage, land use compatibility, and building height. The project also complies with the design guidelines that are outlined in the 111 Development Code for creating an urban development within the DE zone. The land use designation of downtown within the general plan allows for a density of 40 units per acre. So the proposed project at 60 market rate apartments is consistent with the general plan. And again, the purpose of the downtown designation is to provide a high intensity mixed use development that services with retail, restaurant, office uses on the ground floor, and the upper levels could be residential or office. The design was approved by the city's Architectural Review Commission. In the landscape plan, the Planning Commission recommended approval on this unanimously. Staff has not received any opposition from the surrounding residents. This is a project that has been out there for quite some time now. The findings can be made, and with that, staff recommends approval of the project. Are there any questions? I could unshare this if you like.
Please, although it's pretty. This is a public hearing matter, but before I open the public hearing, are there questions from council? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. Is anyone here to testify? I won't do that again. But I will close the public hearing and invite discussion. Yes, Councilmember Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I want to say that the Chandi Group has been a pleasure to work with. They are the kind of developer partner that I think we strive for. And I think that, frankly, we're very fortunate that someone of their caliber was able to put together what was a very complicated project. And I especially appreciate that they listened to all the input, not just council, but ARC, Planning Commission, other individuals, and they responded. They didn't just give it lip service. They made changes. What I hope resulted in an improved project. And that gratitude includes Mr. Chandi himself, because he took charge of the project and was very instrumental in the open communication and the process that, as I said, I think led to about as good a project as we could hope for. Now the next step is to get it up, get it built, get it occupied, and continue improving the downtown core in the San Pablo area, which is our objective. So with that, I'm prepared to move for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, and I share Councilmember Jonathan's comments, and I believe this this project is really going to set the gold standard for Envision San Pablo and bring it to the next level as we wait anxiously for the finished product of Envision San Pablo in the next several months. It's all just coming together. So I second the motion.
The fact that this comes to us with no opposition certainly does reflect that the developer, staff, ARC, and planning have all worked very, very hard to address and resolve all the issues and bring some additional residential units and business to our city. Mayor Pro Tem Harnick.
Thank you, Mayor. I would echo all the comments that were made before. This has been a process it's been over years, and to see the response and the input that we've received from the Chandi Group, and they have listened, and they've brought us a beautiful project for a really important part of our city. And I do want to make the comment, I noticed that in planning, they talked a lot about more landscaping, and that clearly those comments were received well. And you can't put too many shade trees and canopy trees over there. You know, it'll be lovely. It'll turn those neighborhoods into that much nicer. The choice of landscaping is all water wise, and it's nice to see the lantana and the agaves and the bougainvillea and those type of plantings, and the architecture is beautiful, and I'm excited and can't wait to see it go up. It will truly just make these four corners over here that much more important, and bringing San Pablo together with the college and the Civic Center Park, it will really be a nice little piece in there. So thank you so much for all the work you've done with us.
Are we ready to vote? Let's see. Looks like we are.
Great.
Gloria, please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nestandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
You mentioned lantana. If I don't get busy this weekend, my own may be growing on Fred Waring by the time this project goes up. This brings us to council member reports and requests for action. And Councilmember Quintanilla, you have the first turn tonight.
Sorry, my brain got a get scheduled away. I thought you were going to do a random system, and I thought somebody else was going to go first. My report was coming back from the Community Museum of the Desert, rebranding from Children's Museum of the Desert. And it was a wonderful study session looking at the new exhibits that are being planned, a more diverse age range and levels of interaction, very tactile, ADA friendly. And I'm very, very pleased to find a very experiential based activities, which is what we know is part of branching away from tourism and getting more activities based guidelines. So this will be a great way to market for tourism and saying, come and find family-friendly things to do. And knowing that Palm Desert was instrumental at the very beginning of the project as one of the Cove communities that helped fund and start the museum, it would be very important for us to continue to support. So there will be an ask that would be forthcoming for the new relaunch, should be coming in within about a year and a half. And I would like to request support for the presentation by Paulina Angel for the Unity Hope Project. I think that it falls right in line with the mental health awareness that we need to support. And I love that it's broken down. I mean, the idea that there are specific focuses, including caregivers, which we know have a lot of people became caregivers for the first time during the pandemic. So wholehearted support for that. And also a request, if we are now going to continue to have meetings continue virtually. I think I requested it before, but would like to make a request again. If we can enable the captions automatically. If we're doing it on Zoom, it should be a feature that is automatically embedded. It would make it more accessible for residents in the community. I've heard a lot of people talking about how embracing technology was a challenge at first, but people have found the ability to listen at home with earphones and get greater context of what's being said, and also then allowing people to read and follow along. So thank you so much. With that, I yield back.
Thank you. And Mr. Eilman, you got that request?
Yes, I will talk to Clay right away and follow up with Councilmember Quintanilla.
Thank you. Councilmember Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor. So like my colleagues, I attended all of my assigned committee and commission meetings and board meetings and all of that. I don't have anything really significant action items to report to council or the public. I do, in terms of a request for action, and I'm not sure I would elevate it to that level, but including the 10-acre affordable housing project, which is adjacent to the planned regional park, and all the other residential developments that are now finally going vertical, and people are starting to occupy homes. It occurs to me that we need to revisit the timing of the planned regional park. I know Ryan Stendell was very focused on the chicken or the egg, wanting to make sure that the park is not built out before there are people to use it, and not built out, and that the residences aren't built out without the amenity of a park for them to use. So we want it to be concurrent, and it occurs to me that that time kind of feels like it's almost here. And I wonder if staff can just look at that and just let us know what their thoughts are. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick.
Thank you, Mayor. And of course, went to all of my assigned committee and commissions, and a lot of work is being done right now. And it's, of course, we all, for some reason, thought things would slow down, but they just never did. And we've all been going at a somewhat frantic pace, just as one of my colleagues says, she's dreaming in Zoom squares now. So the one thing that I did want to bring up, I went to the Leadership Coachella Valley graduation that was held a couple weeks ago, and had the good fortune to celebrate our own senior management analyst, Veronica Tapia, as she graduated. So that was my treat to watch her graduate. So wanted to share that. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Nastante.
Yes, I'll just briefly bring up the sports arena that we all know about. I did sit in on the planning commission meeting at the county, and it was unanimously passed on to the Board of Supervisors. And on Tuesday, they voted 5-0 to support the project as well. And I'm very excited to see this come to the county, although most all people think it's in Palm Desert. The groundbreaking ceremony is going to be on June 2nd, 3 o'clock over at the Classic Club for groundbreaking ceremony. If I believe it's been publicized in the paper, so I think it'll be a nice event to attend, and I look forward to this $250 million sports and entertainment arena bringing wonders and economic development and tourism to our Coachella Valley.
And I have just one item to share. I previously shared with everyone about a Sunline pilot project to use rideshare for the last segment of people's trips on 4 distinct routes, one of which was the Cook Street corridor. I wanted to let you all know that pilot program is proving extremely successful, particularly in April, once people were more active away from their homes. Utilization of that rideshare really popped, with people able to get from Highway 111 to their final destinations in as little as 10 minutes. And as our students come back to CSUSB Palm Desert campus, that should be a tremendous asset. So if you're a member of the public listening who has destinations on the Cook Street corridor, please just ask your bus driver for information about this program, and they can assist you to utilize it either by phone or by app, or by waiting at your bus stop the first time before you get signed up. Does our city manager have any comments?
Not tonight, Mayor. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Seeing no other business, we will be adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Have a good long weekend.
Good night, everyone. Congrats, graduates.